how to resignify heritage and physical monuments with the help of creative visions and hybrid, combined physical and digital tools. Engaging with these questions, the lecture presents a series of projects researching and designing contemporary interpretations and further development of heritage under a multicultural perspective. Including the integration of digital technology and media networks in heritage projects, hybrid heritage also focuses on cultural hybridity in today's globalized world. The short lecture addresses the aforementioned themes and introduces relevant projects by Hybrid Space Lab, a think tank and a design lab for architecture, urbanism, design, and digital culture, focusing on cultural innovation. Hybrid refers to our strategy of mixing fields, space is our expertise, whereas lab points at our experimental, innovative working method. Hybrid Space Lab works internationally and is based in Berlin. Berlin, the Humboldt Forum in the center of the city. The German government is rebuilding the exterior of the Kaiser's Palace to house the Humboldt Forum, a cultural center of international renown with the Berlin ethnographic collections and a venue dedicated to the global dialogue of cultures. The forum takes its name from the Humboldt brothers, the explorer Alexander von Humboldt and the scientist Wilhelm von Humboldt, who was the founder of the Berlin University. At the site where the Humboldt Forum is being built today stood the Prussian palace, bombed during the Second World War and then demolished by the DDR East German regime that built in its place the Palast der Republik, a palace for the Republic, which was also demolished after German reunification. Humboldt Forum is therefore causing an intense, extremely controversial debate as it involves issues of national symbols, the international role of the city, and of supranational cultural networks. How to resignify controversial heritage and physical monuments with the help of creative visions? As in 2015, the funds for financing the Humboldt Forum facade had not been covered yet, this meant that the possibility of consultation for alternative proposals was still open. We therefore proposed a Humboldt jungle, referring to the jungle explorer Alexander von Humboldt and giving a more extrovert, more contemporary, and more environmentally friendly form to the Humboldt Forum building. Our radical proposal was very well received by the cultural world and the press as the rescue of the Humboldt Forum. And the local press, surveying Berliners' opinion on their preferred project, asked, "Berliners, do you want this fairy tale palace?" As the facade of an old imperial palace is not something associated with a multicultural society, what the Humboldt Forum actually wants to propagate, Humboldt Jungle was conceived as a symbol addressing the country's identity in the 21st century, responding to the most pressing question concerning contemporary cultural identity, the quest for a balanced relationship between tradition and innovation, and the development of heritage under a multicultural perspective. Humboldt Jungle, the concept of growing a jungle around the palace, was intended as the portrayal of the idea of tradition as a dynamic phenomenon and as hybrid heritage. In the meantime, Humboldt Forum facade is being built, so we developed in the same spirit a further proposal that is now being discussed by Berlin politics. Humboldt Volcano, an extension of the palace, a type of greenhouse pavilion with a vertical tropical garden and a waterfall. One main source of inspiration for Humboldt Volcano is a drawing by Alexander von Humboldt. With the Humboldt Volcano greenhouse with the hanging gardens, referring to the explorer Alexander von Humboldt and his volcano exploration and discoveries of exotic flora. Opening the palace to the city's public space. Humboldt Volcano was also very well received by the Berlin public and cultural world, enabling the appropriation of the Humboldt Forum. With the projects Humboldt Jungle and Humboldt Volcano, we experienced that creative projects can open space of opportunity in controversial public debates which are threatening to get seriously stuck, enabling us to re-envision cultural spaces, involving and empowering the public for co-curating the city. In an earlier project, we introduced such a new typology for involving the public for co-curating, the In-Between Institute. In-Between Institute, a space between the studio of the lone genius and the audience spaces, for example, the museum or the theatre, with creative labs working on issues relevant to society. We developed In-Between Institute in 2014 in an assignment to rethink the Beijing 798 Art District. The 798 creative zone in the city of Beijing has been for the last 15 years the Chinese art district, with museums, galleries, artists and designer studios occupying an old factory area. Increasingly, in the last years, the 798 district is becoming a tourist destination, and its popular tourist success is eroding its exclusive image. We were therefore asked to develop a new brand for the district and convinced the Beijing officials not to think in brands, but to think in processes. We also developed a hybrid, modular and mobile system to penetrate other areas of the city, with building typologies ranging from mini to midi to maxi, such as a new typology for a performing art lab combining dance, performance, and media art in a building fusing the concept of the artist's stage with the concept of the public's auditorium. With In-Between Institute, we worked on new typologies for re-envisioning cultural spaces as hybrid spaces for co-creative production. This re-envisioning of cultural spaces can expand beyond contemporary participatory art production and curation by offering the chance to radically change the way we collectively process cultural heritage. This prompts us to also focus on spaces where culture meets contested heritage, and collective processing can move forward stagnating debates on controversial history, allowing for more inclusive participatory processes in memory making by accounting for the polyphony of previously silenced stories and narratives. Deep Space, resignifying Valle de los Caídos, in our current project on Valle de los Caídos, Valle of the Fallen, close to Madrid in Spain, we examine how traditional physical architectural monuments and heritage can be transformed with creative and digital tools. Valle de los Caídos, the Francoist monument built near Madrid between 1940 and 1959, is the most controversial active monument in the world, an example of the difficulties of the processes for transforming such controversial monuments and heritage. The cross, that is 152 meters high, visible from 30 kilometers away, and between the two sides of the mountain there is a 263-meter-long underground church, a crypt. A section of the site of Valle de los Caídos with a 263-meter-long church, a Catholic basilica as a crypt, cut out from the granite rock by prisoners of war from the Republican side, and in the mountain, behind the crypt, are buried more than 33,000 remains from both sides of the conflict, also remains of Republicans taken out of mass graves without the permission or knowledge of their relatives. The esplanade at the entry side and the cross, and the back, with a Benedict monastery, the Benedictine monks catering for the monument and giving a daily mass. Esplanade and monastery are connected to the 263-meter-long underground crypt. Valle de los Caídos is the world's most controversial active monument, as the Benedictine monks say the daily mass, performed in honor of the dictator Franco until his exhumation from the underground basilica in October 2019. And at the Valle de los Caídos, there is no information about this complex, contentious history, and it is still a tourist attraction. In October 2018, a year before Franco's exhumation, we organized a workshop to resignify Valle de los Caídos. It was totally international and interdisciplinary. We invited curators from the Madrid Museum Reina Sofia, from the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, psychoanalysts, forensic archaeologists, ethnologists, artists, architects, designers, landscape architects, digital technology experts, and historians such as the director of the War Crime Institute, NIOD, from Amsterdam. One workshop group focused on the mapping of the monument in its surrounding landscape, developing proposals for paths and viewpoints, creating new perspectives, aiming at making people aware as they move through the Valley of the Fallen of its painful history. The second group stretched their design thinking into 50 years from now and envisioned a future for the monument, including the possibility of it becoming a research center, a venue hosting an art and engagement program, and a global center for peace and interpretation. And the third workshop group dealt with the idea of creating a digital archive which would allow to gather, access, and store bottom-up collaborative and interdisciplinary contributions on the monument's morbid history. This would foster dialogue, counterbalancing the site's totalitarian narrative with a network polyphony of democratic voices, accompanying the decline of the monument, the pixels deconstructing and corroding the stone. And we're now preparing workshops for prototyping an augmented reality application, enabling visitors to explore the hidden layers of the site's complex, controversial history whilst crossing it. This could also make it possible for visitors not to just face what Franco wanted them to see at Valle de los Caídos. The augmented reality application would, next to providing information, also have the potential to help reconciliation with unresolved historical wounds. The Deep Space, resignifying Valle de los Caídos project, was received very well in Spain. In particular, the implementation of digital tools for post-Franco memory making attracted considerable attention, as it could change the totalitarian nature of Valle de los Caídos, as described, for example, in the article published in the Spanish newspaper El País. As a tool for the workshop, we developed an analytical mapping of Valle de los Caídos, mapping the visible and invisible layers of physical space, and developing a time axis for mapping processes. As outcome of the workshop was the strategy to develop a digital core archive which allows to gather, access, and store bottom-up collaborative interdisciplinary contribution on the monument's morbid history. The focus on such digital creative tools allows us to envision a radical resignification of physical monuments via digital networked archives. This workshop kick-started an exploration focusing on how future heritage could look, feel, sound like, and how the digitally enriched features of heritage sites could affect memory-making processes. Along the same lines, the hybrid heritage program we are now developing addresses contested heritage, projecting design research in the future of heritage. As hybrid heritage works on the development of new processes, its commitment builds on innovative ideas on the future of museums. This entails envisioning open, mobile museums, participatory heritage platforms and discussion spaces supported by the combination of the digital and the physical, at once engaging with online and on-site reality. And next to integrating creative design research methods into the processing of heritage, hybrid heritage bolsters innovative ideas on the future of heritage in the digital age, with digitally supported co-creative processes enabling the integration of sideline voices within the polyphonic heritage. And this leads us to the Void Space workshop series we're now developing, focusing on the rereading of territories in the light of their historical relations to former colonies and on how to contribute to the formation of an inclusive collective cultural heritage with as a case study the global Dutch city of Amsterdam. And next to experimental formats such as the workshop series Deep Space, Hybrid Heritage and Voice Space, we have been also organizing and curating international exchange programs addressing the cluster of issues on the re-envisioning of cultural spaces in the time of the digital. For example, we organized in spring 2019 an international interdisciplinary symposium on future narratives and immersive experiences at the Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf in Potsdam, focusing on how digital transformation is radically changing the communication and redefining how the world connects, bringing together international, interdisciplinary co-creators in the audiovisual sector, companies with a background in media, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, games, 3D, sound, in the staging of productions, in communication, as well as cultural and heritage institutions and players with the urge of developing high-quality storytelling in the digital era. And in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, in addition to adapting the project Humboldt Dschungel to the 1.5 meter life and economy by appropriating the exterior and the roof of the Humboldt Forum building and integrating extra paths, offering multiple routes to access the building and enabling physical distancing, we do need to be daring, to push imagination beyond the mere proofing of social and cultural spaces as we know them against infectious diseases. In this critical situation, we have the chance to develop a spatial conceptual approach to support cultural collaborative interactions in order to actively shape future hybrid, combined digital and physical, explorative cultural spaces. To explore these issues, we have initiated the Hybrid Staging International Professional Exchange and Co-Curation Program, investigating the future of cultural spaces, focusing on showcasing practical possibilities and experimental formats, speculating on economic models, making visionary ideas tangible, and tackling a broad range of topical questions. The Hybrid Staging Program draws on the continuity of Hybrid Space Labs' engagement in the exploration of future of cultural spaces. For more information, please visit our website, hybridspacelab.net. Thank you so much.